Hello, welcome back to Miss Bell's classroom. Today in class we will be working on some grammar and we will be learning about how to use negatives correctly in a sentence. We'll specifically be looking at sentences in order for us not to use two negatives in a sentence. We'll be looking at something called double negatives and making sure that when we write our sentences, we don't use double negatives. So before we do that, we're going to go over what are negatives. And all negatives are just words that mean no or not. So for example, nobody means no person. So I'm going to need your help in brainstorming some negatives. That you've seen in your life or you've read in books. So I already said no, and I already said not, and nobody. Can anybody think of any other words that are negative words? Yes. None. Any others? Can not. Yes. It's a good question. So she asked if you can do cannot. Can you do can't? Definitely. So any word with a contraction not is also negative, which means that you could also do isn't. Yes. Yes, you could do don't. Yes. Wasn't. Any others? You could do nowhere. Any others? Okay, so another one that we could also do is nor. So all of those are examples of negatives, and you can also just do anything with the contraction nt in it as well. Those would be counted as negatives. So anytime that you have a sentence, you only want to have one negative in the sentence. So I'm going to show you an example of an incorrect way and the correct way. So this says, I don't see nobody. So I see here that we have the word don't and nobody. So that would be an example of a double negative. There's two negatives in the sentence, and even just saying it feels kind of funny. I don't see nobody. So we want to make sure that we only have one negative in the sentence. So the correct way to write this would be I don't see anybody. So now we only have one negative in the sentence. So when you write your sentences, you want to make sure that you have one negative in it. Okay, so we're going to do some sentences together, and we're going to decide which word would best fit in the sentences. And I want you to be thinking about that rule. We can only have one negative in every sentence, okay? Okay, so our first sentence is, don't, and we know that that's a negative. Let, parentheses here, anybody, or would we say nobody, find out. Okay, so I see here that we have one negative. It says don't let anybody or nobody find out. If we have one negative, that means that we cannot use this one, right? Because that would give us two negatives. So we have to use anybody in this sentence. Okay? Alright, let's do another one. Number 2 is she couldn't find the book. Two parentheses now. Anywhere or no. Where? Okay, so does anyone see a negative in this sentence? Yes. Yes, couldn't, because it has the contraction of NT, which is could not. So that means that we already have a negative. So if we're choosing which one best fits, it can't be the one with the negative. So it has to be anywhere. So she couldn't find the book anywhere. And if you said it, it wouldn't make sense to say she couldn't find the book nowhere. It doesn't make sense. Okay. So the next sentence is number 3. It is my brother doesn't listen to, and our choices are anyone or no one. So it could either be my brother doesn't listen to anyone or my brother doesn't listen to no one. So does anyone see a negative in the sentence? And what word is the negative? Yes. Yes, so doesn't is our negative, which means that we already have our one negative. So our choice, we have to pick the one that doesn't have the negative, because we can only have one negative in the sentence. So my brother doesn't listen to anyone, or my brother doesn't listen to no one. Which one would you choose? Yes. Yes, anyone. Very good. the next one, number 4, is the teacher doesn't want any or no messy papers. Okay, so it could either be the teacher doesn't want any messy papers or the teacher doesn't want no messy papers. So does someone see a negative in here? Yes. It is doesn't, which means that our choices, we can't choose the negative. So what word do we have to have in this sentence? Yes, any. So it would say the teacher doesn't want any messy papers. Okay, let's do one more like this. We will do Rob was or wasn't. Okay, so it says Rob was or wasn't under no spell. So Rob was under no spell or Rob wasn't under no spell. So does anyone see a negative already in the sentence? Yes. Yes, no is a negative. So that means out of our choices, we want to choose the one that is not a negative. So which one is not a negative? Yes, was. So we need to say Rob was under no spell. We wouldn't want to say Rob wasn't under no spell. Okay? Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a blank sentence, and what I'm going to have you do is guess the word that you think would fit in the sentence. So I'm going to write a sentence and then leave a blank space, and you need to tell me what word would go there. And I just want to remind you that we cannot have two negatives in the sentence because those two words can contradict each other. So you need to make sure that you're not putting another negative if there already is a negative in the sentence. Okay? So first one we'll do is there, space, no, place, to put the purse on the table. Okay, so it says there blank, no place to put the purse on the table. So does anyone see a negative in this sentence? Okay, so no, there's no place to put the purse on the table. So what might be a word that we could put there? Yes, we could say was. Is there anything else you might put there? Yes, we could do is, yes. So we would say there is no place to put the purse on the table. You wouldn't want to say there isn't no place to put the purse on the table, because that's saying that there is not no place to put the purse on the table. It's actually saying the opposite of what you want to say. Okay. Right. Her attitude about work. Get her no promotion. Okay, so that's her attitude about work. Blank, get her no promotion. So what's a word that might go there? And do you see any negatives in the sentence? Yes. Yes. No is a negative. So that means this word in the blank cannot be a negative word. So what's a word that might go there? Yes. We couldn't say won't because that would be a double negative. That would say her attitude about work won't get her no promotion, be contradicting itself. So what word might go there? Think about the two words that make up won't when you make a contraction. Yes. Yes, will. Her promotion will get her no promotion. Right. The next one is the class doesn't have more room for more students. Okay, so it says the class doesn't have blank more room for students. So does anyone see a negative in this sentence? Yes. Yes, doesn't is our negative, which means that we cannot put a negative there. So what word could go there? Yes. The class doesn't have no more room for students. We already have a negative. Yes. Yes, any. Doesn't have any more room for students. So we could say the class doesn't have any more room for more students. Okay, raise your hand if you would like to do another one of these. Okay, let's go on to a different activity. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to give you 2 sentences and I'm going to need your help to figure out which sentence is correct. Okay, so be thinking about, does the sentence have 2 negatives in it or does it only have 1? And be remembering what that rule is, okay? So the first sentence, we'll call it A. And it is, some people were not paying attention. Okay. And sentence B is, some people weren't paying attention. Okay, so there. Let me read these and I want you to decide which one is the correct one. So A says some people were not paying attention, and B says some people weren't not paying attention. So which one do you think is correct? Which one has only 1 negative? Which one has 2 negatives? Yes. Yes, it is A. Because this one only has 1 negative. But B has weren't and not. So that's pretty contradicting. Okay, let's do another one. Call this sentence A. The clothes on the rack aren't never on sale. That's A. And then B is the clothes on the rack ever on sale. Okay, so raise your hand if you think A is correct. Okay, raise your hand if you think B is correct. Okay, so the students who said B is correct, you are correct. But why is A not correct? Yes, because it has aren't and it has never. Very good. So we don't want to use 2 negatives, and if we read that, it says the clothes on the rack are not never on sale. So that's not actually saying the opposite of what you're trying to say. Okay, so raise your hand if you would like to do another one. Okay, so we feel good with this. Okay, so I hope that you learned a lot about double negatives. I hope that you can use them correctly in your writing and when you talk. And thank you for watching today. Have a restful sleep. Good night.